Now, with so many FPL managers activating their wildcard chip heading into game week 30, I thought I'd ask AI to build the best wildcard draft, and this is what it's come up with. Now, of course, before we dive into today's video, I just want to say that we are ridiculously close to hitting our end of season goal of 12.5k subscribers. We're about 10 people away from that at the time of recording. So, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and of course, the main one being subscribing to the FPL Tom YouTube channel. Before we head into the AI team itself, I do think it is important to obviously note which teams and which kind of fixtures we need to be targeting over the next few weeks. And I want to actually see if the AI has fully taken on board the kind of predicted schedule that is coming up over the next few weeks. Of course, if you want to go and check out this amazing schedule for yourself, Ben Krellin's link will be in the description. Head over to Fantasy Football Hub and you can download this for yourself and obviously make your own plans accordingly. So obviously we know about the confirmed double in game week 32 with Crystal Palace and Newcastle. Definitely if you're on a wild card for this week, those are two teams I would definitely be looking to obviously look to kind of have in there. City and Villa are very, very likely to have a double game week in 33. The rest are all dependent on FA Cup fixtures. And I think, obviously, at the time of recording, we're still in that position where, of course, we're going to have an FA Cup round before we can kind of make any decisions on, of course, these double game weeks as well and what is going to happen. And, of course, with the banks in 34. But I think if you're going to be wildcarding in game week 30... game week 34, you are probably going to be getting that free hit ready. So, of course, I do feel like a lot of FPL managers are probably going to be looking at the bench boost in 33 as well. So, I'm very, very interested to see if the AI team as well actually kind of takes into consideration, of course, the activation of a bench boost in 33, because sometimes it kind of just builds a really, really strong starting 11 and then doesn't really think about the bench. So I'm very interested to see if that's going to be the case as well. Because, of course, like I said, a lot of people are going to be looking to play the bench boost either in 33 or in game week 36. Like I said, if you want to go and check this out for yourself, head over to the link in the description. Also, I want to look at the predicted points over the next 5 game weeks. I want to see how many of these players do, of course, go and get crammed into this side. I think the top 3 are fairly predictable. Of course, Alexander Isak having that double in 32. Definitely if you've still got the triple captainship left as well, definitely worth using on him. Mohamed Salah, despite no kind of confirmed doubles coming up for Liverpool or potentially no doubles up until the next few weeks, again, really, really fancied, of course, by the Fantasy Football Hub predicted model. There's a big then drop to the next kind of players. Haaland, I do think, is a player that a lot of people are going to be considering a wild card, purely down to the fact that Manchester City have a great fixture in game week 30 against Leicester. Then, of course, their potential double in 33 and potentially another double as well a bit later on in the season. Of course, we're seeing scatters of Crystal Palace and Newcastle players in here. Sarr is the one that has really tickled my pickle over the past few days. 0.6 expected goal involvement per 90. He could be a real gem, and the Fantasy Football Hub model and as well the Draft Town model are really fancying him for a mega points haul this week. So he could be one that you go for. Of course, get the double game week with him as well. Mateta, if fit and available, also could be a great option. Looking at the Arsenal players as well, the 11-5 data really backs Arsenal in terms of those clean sheet numbers. So I'm expecting to see maybe 1 or 2 Arsenal defenders in there as well. We're seeing Gabriel, the only defender on this list as well, feature on the list and very, very high up and prominent as well. Of course, if Arsenal do get that double game week in 33, I do imagine he's going to be a very, very popular pick on the game week 30 or game week 31 wildcard. But that's enough waffle. Let's head into the AI team itself. Now here we are, let's dive into the AI wildcard for game week 30. Starting off first with our defenders and goalkeepers. And as confirmed, I didn't think the AI would, of course, factor in a bench boost in 33. As you can see, the bench is ridiculously poor. There's a lot of money left over within this squad as well. So you could obviously get yourself a Morgan Rogers with a potential double there. And yeah, there's so many defenders you could go and get that, of course, potentially could double in 33 or, of course, could play for Newcastle or Crystal Palace as well. So it just seems to me like the AI has not really thought through this team, to be honest. But let's start with the players in the starting 11 because I do feel that is quite a strong squad. Dean Henderson, I think, will be a very, very popular pick for those that are looking for a cheap goalkeeper. I also like the look of David Raya as well, of course, with both Crystal Palace and Arsenal having potential doubles in 33. Of course, Crystal Palace have that one in 22 as well. I think that is why we'll see quite a few Crystal Palace players in here as well. We've already got 2 The other one being Daniel Munoz, a player whose underlying data over the past few weeks doesn't look anything exceptional, but he is one of those players that when you watch the eye test performances, he is absolutely phenomenal. Getting himself into the right positions, getting himself into the goal scoring positions that you'd expect from like a winger, never mind a fullback. Also, Crystal Palace are on a really, really good run at the moment. We've seen them start to march themselves up the XG conceded table, and like I said, they've got that confirmed double in 32, and if they were to get another one in 33, back-to-back doubles for Crystal Palace would make their players very, very valuable on a wild card. And I think Henderson and Munoz would be two names that I think, for me personally, I would also be very, very strongly considering. Gabriel is in here. We saw in the Fantasy Football Hub predicted points numbers that he was going to be a very popular player. The only defender on that list and extremely high up. If we look to the 11-5 data as well, that's also got Arsenal as one of the top teams over the next 5 and 6 game weeks for clean sheet numbers. Of course, Arsenal top in the list as well for XG conceded. It does look like his kind of corner ability, or at least Arsenal's corner ability, has definitely dwindled over the past few weeks. And maybe when Saka's back, we'll start to see more from Gabriel. But for right now, I don't think necessarily he's going to be kind of earning his keep. I think clean sheets will be just all you can expect from him. I don't think we're probably going to get too many attacking returns out of him. I think the other side of that, though, could be that Gvardiol could be one of those players that does, of course, get more attacking returns. The only concern is he has been slotting into that back three for Manchester City for large parts of the season, and again, it looks like that is going to continue. However, he is scored the most goals out of all defenders so far in this year's FPL, but I don't know whether or not that's going to continue with, of course, him playing a more reserved role. But who do you else pick out of that City back line? There's not too many other options, but I think when we're paying 5.9 million, do we want a guy who's going to be sat centre-back for a team that haven't been as consistent at keeping clean sheets this season? I'm not overly convinced, but as a whole, I do think it's a pretty strong starting 11 defence that the AI has selected there. There's a lot of kind of consensus pick. Of course, Palace and Arsenal, definitely teams I would be looking to target. Same with Manchester City. It is just those ones on the bench that have really, really let the AI down there. They've not really thought about the bench boost in 33. So I do think that is letting the team down. But the rest of the defence does look ridiculously strong. I can give it that one. Let's head on then into the midfield. Of course, Mohamed Salah. Does anything really need to be explained? I know he had a disappointing game against Newcastle, wasn't really involved too much, but we all know what he's capable of. Even despite him not potentially having any double game weeks on the card, the Fantasy Football Hub point predictor is having him as one of the top players over that period. I do think he is probably going to be the consensus captain pick this week. Despite Erling Haaland, Manchester City playing Leicester, I still think, like most people, will be, of course, selecting him against Everton as their captain pick. And I think he's just one of those players that, unfortunately, you're just going to have in the side for the remainder of the season. Then it's gone for an interesting one. He's gone for double Bournemouth midfielders. Now, I think this is massively overkill in my personal opinion. I think you just need Justin Kluivert. He's the one. He's the penalty taker. His minutes are very, very secure. He's the talisman for me, personally. And looks so much better now that Evan Nielsen is in the side as well. I do just want to add that. The ball that he played through the other day was ridiculous for him. So I'm a big fan of Kluivert. Don't have any problems with that one. Semenyo is just not that guy. His minutes are great, but his performances in recent weeks, Bournemouth fans have been questioning that. And I don't understand why the Fantasy Football Hub model loves him so much. Yes, he gets in the right positions, and yes, he plays so many minutes, but he's not a player that this season has hit those heights of getting double-digit hauls. And again, like I said, there's plenty of money in the bank here to go and pick more exciting players for me, in my personal opinion. The one that I had in my wildcard draft was, of course, Jared Bowen. If West Ham get that double in 33, that means that they would be playing Southampton and Brighton as a double, which is a pretty good double on. Like, Southampton on its own is a great fixture. Factor then that in a double game week, that is ridiculously strong, and I just don't think Semenyo is that guy. Kluivert, I think, would be the one that I would select if I was to just go for one Bournemouth midfielder for me. So we've obviously spoke about 0.6 expected goal involvement per 90 over the course of the season. His last two games have been absolutely ridiculous, with both coming with double-digit hauls. 3 goals in his past 5 game weeks as well. The man is looking really, really sharp at the moment, and like I said, he could be the 1 week punt I do go with, because Southampton are absolutely abysmal, the worst team in the league. That's it, just worst team in the league general, not even mind XG conceded or goals conceded. They are just abysmal. One of the worst sides. We should be targeting them every single week. Like I said, if Palace get that double in 30, they've already got the double in 32. If they get that double in 33 confirmed as well before the start of game week 30, everybody is going to be probably looking at a triple up on Palace players on the wildcard for me, in my personal opinion. Let's move on then into the front line, and we're going to go with Visser. And yeah, there's not a double game week coming up for Brentford, so I'm not really sure why the AI has selected this one. I think, again, there's probably better picks out there. I had better picks in my own wildcard draft. You can go and watch that video, than Yoane Visser. I'm a big fan of Visser. I've had him for large parts of this season, and the guy has not let me down. But at this point in the season, we've got to be targeting the fixtures. And it just doesn't work with Brentford at the moment. It's just not, it's not the right play for me, in my personal opinion. Yes, he might be up there in terms of, predicted points over the next few weeks, but he's not the pick I would go for personally. So again, I think the AI's let itself down with that one. Alexander Isak, like I said, he is going to be really, really good for the Brentford fixture. They're really, really poor defensively in the XG conceded column. Of course, the double in 32, where he is going to be most people's captain. And of course, if you've got that triple captainship left, that is the ideal week to play it. So no qualms with that one. Top of the predicted points as well on the Fantasy Football Hub model. Haaland is an interesting one. The wildcard draft I built didn't have Haaland in, because his points and his data's kind of collection this season has been very, very inconsistent. And when we're paying these big premium prices for Erling Haaland, in my opinion, you've got to be looking at captain, and he's got to be returning at least double digits when you're doing that. We're not seeing that level from Erling Haaland this season. I just don't think he's going to justify the price point that he is, and you can build such a better squad without him. Now, I could all be saying this and I get egg on my face like I did at the start of the season when he absolutely smashed it. Leicester is a great fixture. He could very easily get himself a couple goals. And of course, there's the double game weeks in 33, but I just don't know whether or not he is going to be worth the value for me personally. You're going to want to look to captain him every single week. And even with Leicester at home, we're still, and the AI is still leaning towards Mohamed Salah. I did in my own wildcard draft as well. I was leaning more towards Mo Salah. The AI has the exact same indications that Haaland isn't the best captain. So for me personally, why are we spending 14.8 million on a player that we're not even going to captain when he's got Leicester at home? So it's just kind of one of those. I think Marmoush could be potentially the other alternative that could be a better option to go for. Of course, let's look at how the AI team is going to line up over the next few weeks then without any transfers. Game week 31, still looking pretty decent. The bench, though, can't really bring anybody in for Visser's fixture against Chelsea, so seems very, very strange that the AI did select that one. In game week 32, of course, the double for Crystal Palace. We've got ourselves just one Newcastle asset. Seems very strange. And, of course, we've got Henderson, Munoz and Sarr. Heading into game week 33 then. Obviously, this is the double game week. And, yeah, it's not looking great there, to be honest. Of course, Crystal Palace could potentially have a double. So could Bournemouth as well in that run. But like I said, same with Arsenal as well. They could also have one. But Visser, again, just I'm not seeing the value in that pick. And I'm really, really not sure what the AI is thinking with that one. Of course, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you liking, commenting and subscribing. And I will see you in the next one. And thank you very much for watching.